Hey everyone, it's me Lone. Hope you're doing all right. Let's get right into it. There's a lot to cover when it comes to Fallout 76 today because the PTS for Expeditions the Pit actually did go live today, and a few people managed to download it and play it for a little bit. But unfortunately, fairly soon after that initial go live, Bethesda took it down because they found an issue or a bug of some kind. Now, I couldn't actually gather exactly what the problem was, but regardless, they took it down and they gave us a few updates to say hopefully tomorrow at the time of this recording, they'll be able to get it back online if they can fix this issue. But if they can't, I could easily see this being pushed back to next week. So let's see what happens. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I still do want to talk about the situation. One, I want to talk about the fact that it was taken down like 2 hours after the initial launch. And two, I want to share what I've gathered from the community in terms of people's initial thoughts when it comes to Expeditions the Pit. Now, mind you, this is such a small slice because people could only play pretty much one run of Union Dues. But still, I think it's good exercise, and it's enlightening to see what people thought about Expeditions the Pit, even though their experience was so short. I want to share the positives and also the negatives that I saw in the community. For full transparency, I didn't manage to play it because by the time I was awake, it was offline already. But again, I want to be talking about what other people have said when it comes to this. On the screen right now, you're going to be seeing gameplay as well when it comes to Expeditions the Pit. This is from Coffee888. Thank you so much for letting me use this footage, honestly. And if you want to see the full footage for yourself, it is linked in the description below. So I'll be kind of chopping in that so you can see what it actually looks like. So first, let's have this discussion about it being taken down so soon. Now, I want to say, and you can call me out on this if we get to the actual launch of the Pit and I don't do this, but if this actually happened when the Pit was properly being launched on console and on PC in the live servers, I would absolutely be here, I promise you, calling it out. I would say that it is not good in the actual proper launch when we get it later this year. If it was taken down 2 hours after launch, I would be here calling it out and say that it's pretty much unacceptable, right? But that is not what happened here. And I know some people might be saying you're giving Bethesda a free pass, but at the end of the day, this is the PTS, okay? Like the entire point of the PTS is to test issues exactly like this. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't send the right message. I know that it doesn't instill confidence in people that it was literally 2 hours after the initial go live that it was taken down due to a bug. Like, people, I think quite rightly, can be asking, why wasn't this figured out? Why wasn't this determined in your testing before it actually went to the PTS? Totally understand that. And I can understand why people are even more hesitant now when it comes to Expeditions the Pit. So those feelings are absolutely valid. But for me personally, I'm seeing this as another thing of the PTS. Like, we are there to test issues, to test bugs, and to figure out stuff like this so it doesn't actually happen when it comes to the proper launch. So for me, it is not the biggest issue in the world, but I can understand why people are upset. The thing that actually interests me the most is the actual gameplay. Like, what did people think? Is this actually good gameplay? Is this worthy of being the next major expansion to Fallout 76 that Bethesda is touting and that people are looking forward to? Because if it's not, then that's more concerning to me. Like, regardless of initial issues like this, if it doesn't have longevity and if it isn't actually good gameplay, then that's what interests me more. Then that's what I'm going to be even more critical of. So what I did today, as I said in the Bethesda Discord, is talk to a few people, and I've been able to pull up a few positives and negatives when it comes to Expeditions to the Pit, and I'd like to share them because they really are interesting to read through, and I got them on the screen right now. So after talking to a few people, here are the positives that I could gather. And again, I haven't played it, but this is what people said. Number one, it is cool to see the responders in White Springs. Like, it is nice to see an existing location be mixed up a little bit. Like, I can understand why that is the case. Eventually, you get sick of that, right? Like, you see it once, oh, this is cool, and then you move on. But at the very least, I can understand why that is cool to see. And that, like, I still wish personally that it was a different location. Like, White Springs is interesting enough, but I can understand why people have said that. Number two, when it comes to positives, and this is absolutely the highlight, far and beyond anything else, apparently the Pit is a very cool environment. It is very cool, eerie to look at. It's very different to Appalachia too, so it's a different change of pace. It's definitely the highlight of Expeditions to the Pit, and I think we very much expected that. Like, everyone loved, for the most part, everyone loved the Pit in Fallout 3, and to see that reimagined in Fallout 76, I can very easily understand why that is the highlight. So I think the one downside for me, as a little side note, is that I don't think we actually have that full ability to properly explore without there being, a mission to do at the same time. Like, it isn't like a proper open world area to explore. But I haven't played it, so I actually don't know what the extent of that is, but that's what I hear from people anyway. 3, it does feel like the original Pitt DLC from Fallout 3. Now, I don't know what extent it feels like the original Pitt DLC. Like, it's not like a standalone story with different quests and stuff, but I just think people are talking about the feeling of it. It feels like the Pit, so I guess that is good. Number 4, the auto axe, one of the new weapons, is a fun weapon to use, so I guess that is a good sign. The power armor, I don't think anyone was able to use the power armor yet because it was taken down so soon, but if the power armor is just power armor, there's probably nothing interesting to write home about. It's a bit more powerful or whatever, you know what I mean? But it's good that the auto axe is actually fun to use. The next one, the gameplay, is solid 76 gameplay. So what you've expected in Fallout 76, you're going to get in the Pit. And I think everyone kind of expected that. But, we've been doing this for 3 years now, right? So to me, that's not necessarily a positive. Like, if you enjoy it, great. But it does need to mix it up at this stage, I think, as well. The objectives in each run are mixed up, so each run does feel slightly different, but I'm not necessarily saying that that's not going to get stale quickly, and I'll be covering that in the negatives, but apparently the objectives are fun as you go through these runs. And also as well, there's a bunch of new cosmetics to get. So that's obviously a good thing. If you're interested in cosmetics and camp items and different rewards, there is a bunch of new rewards to get. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we are playing this. But there's also some negatives when it comes to the rewards in the Pit as well. And I'll cover that right now. So negatives. Number 1, the dailies to get the batteries. I flagged this in my initial video. I thought this would just become tedious. And I think people are agreeing with this. The dailies to get the batteries, the ultrasite cells, get tedious and could get annoying very, very fast. Apparently there's one in particular that's fairly tedious, but I could see why having to do this every week, every time that you want to travel to the Pit, can get annoying. Now, mind you, you only have to do this once for you if you want to be the leader, and then you just tag along with other people to be able to do multiple runs in 1 week. So it's not all bad, but I still think they should either cut that out completely. You know what? I think they should cut that out completely. My humble opinion. Like, if we can only lead 1 run a week anyways, just let us lead that run. Maybe a very small daily, but I don't want it to become tedious fast. So that is one negative. Apparently the stamp rewards are very, very low. And I don't want to speak to the full extent of this, but when it at least comes to the auto axe mods, for instance, it takes about 9 runs to get 1 mod because it's like 85 stamps or something like that. And if on a run you're the leader and you do all the objectives, you get about 10 stamps, and it's less as you do less objectives. It's something like that, but just generally the consensus is that the stamp rewards are too low, and it could take months to be getting all the rewards depending upon how much you grind and how many runs you do. And you obviously can get more stamps if you work with others, but it requires you to do the same runs over and over and over. So I saw this coming from a mile away. We know there has been a history and a track record of that when it comes to Bethesda releasing stuff in the PTS and setting the bar too high. It happened with perk coins, and it looks like it's happening now with stamps. So they're probably going to reduce the requirement. They're probably going to reduce how many stamps you need to get these rewards. I see that happening. Like, put my name to the bet. I reckon that's going to happen. But yeah, apparently the stamp rewards are too low, and that's not a good thing. The third thing, generally, like, it could get stale fast in multiple playthroughs. Like, I've said this in an initial video, and I think people are agreeing that we need new missions to mix it up. Now, there's only 1 mission so far, and we know that there's a second mission that's going to be added. But even with 2 missions, to be honest, TLDR, if you keep doing the same 2 missions over and over and over, eventually it's going to get stale and it's going to get boring, and it might feel like a daily ops, right? Because you've done it so many times. And from what I could gather about this initial mission, Union Dues, it's pretty much you go here, place this thing, stand in a circle, kill things as they come, wait, kill more things, wait till a bar fills up, and then you move and you talk to an NPC and you leave. Like, that was a very, very shortened version of what Union Dues seems like it is, which is obviously, again, like, it's typical Fallout 76 gameplay. It's not reinventing the wheel, but you imagine you do that tons of times every week to try and get all the rewards. Like, yeah, eventually that will get stale. So my hope is that Bethesda keeps adding not only new rewards, but keeps adding different missions for us to do. Because if we're just doing the same 2, then eventually, we're not going to want to do them anymore. Apparently, the regular normal rewards that you get after finishing a particular run, these are not the cosmetics that you can get, but the regular rewards, absolutely not worth it. Like, people said that was definitely a bad thing when it came to what you got after a run, excluding those other rewards. And I think they're talking about, like, you know, the currency and the legendary item that you might get. Probably not worth it for how sometimes difficult people were saying that this run can be. So also as well, apparently the world space feels small. And this is what I was touching on before, where it's interesting, it looks amazing, and people really loved and thought that was the highlight, but it does feel small. It feels very kind of compact, and there's not a lot to explore. And I think that's why it's not necessarily like just like an open world area that you can go to and explore to your heart's content, because it's pretty tiny. So that's another thing that people called out. Number 6. Now, while people some people did say it was Daily Ops 2.0, but generally people didn't say that it was just an extended Daily Ops. But you might eventually find it short, especially as being the game's next big expansion. On average, the expedition took people around 20 to 25 minutes, from the main objectives, and about a total of 35 to 40 minutes for also the side objectives and the main objectives combined. So you're really talking about, let's say, half an hour or so, and it might get quicker as you get, you know, better at it. You optimize your build a little bit. You're in a bigger team. So it might be quicker than 30 minutes to 40 minutes, but on average, that's what you're about doing for one run. And I can see why people think it's short, because this is our next big expansion for Fallout 76, and 30 minutes and you're done a run, like that does feel short, I'll be honest. And you're essentially, the gameplay loop is you keep doing the runs, and then that just adds to the earlier issue that I said, that it could get stale fast if you're doing the same missions and the same objectives and the same runs over and over to get these rewards. So I was hoping that it'd be a bit longer, to be honest. I can understand that it feels like almost like a vault raid in some senses. Like you do it for 30 minutes to 40 minutes, and then, yeah, like that's the run, that's the point of it. So I get that to an extent, but this is all there is. Like, I could totally get it if this was, you know, you have a 30-minute run, and then maybe you go back to the pit and you can explore a little bit, and there's a bit more of an open area to explore a little bit. I think that should be, for the expansion that it is, I think that should be an absolute necessity, but it doesn't seem like that we're getting that. And then this is another big issue, time gating. Apparently, you can only get one of these rewards per week, so it requires you to go back every week to try and get these other rewards. And I know there are some rewards that you can buy, but there's still this time gating of one reward per week. I'm still not sure how it works, but this is not a good thing. Like, I can understand, like, it happened with Gold Bullion and Wastelanders in the past. There's a lot of time gating in Fallout 76, and it's going to be happening more. Now, I can understand why Bethesda are doing this. They're trying to draw it out a little bit, get people to keep coming back. But I think after over 3 years, almost 4 years now, people are getting a little bit sick of the time gating. So I can totally understand why that is the case. So again, I haven't played it, so it's hard for me to share my personal thoughts. If it goes live tomorrow morning, I probably will stream it. But from what I see so far of what people have said, this doesn't seem like this is revolutionizing Fallout 76. I think this is something that hardcore players and people that have already invested time in Fallout 76, they're going to come back for, try it out a little bit. There will be a group of people that will try and get every single reward. But it does not sound like this is bringing back any new players or any players that got burned from Fallout 76. It doesn't sound like it's bringing any of them back to the game. It doesn't sound like that this is going to be a driver of growth in terms of the player base for the game. And was I expecting that? Like, maybe the back of my mind, I was hoping that we'd get something that at least lay the foundation to severely increase the player base for Fallout 76. But it doesn't seem like we're getting that. It seems like we're getting something that could be fun for a month or so. You get a few of the rewards that you really want to get. You get all the auto axe mods. You get the new power armor. You enjoy the pit while you're there. But then after that, there's probably no reason to go back to the pit unless they add new rewards and new missions. So I think that's the best way to summarize it. I think people in the Discord as well agreed with those positives and negatives. And not everyone will. And it was such a small slice, as I said. But I think that's probably what you can say about Expeditions to Pitt. So let me know what you think. Some of you might be let down. Some of you might be saying that's exactly what you wanted. For me, I'm probably going to go back. I'm probably going to enjoy it. I'm probably going to get the rewards. But I was hoping for something that would really bring back a lot of the players that are left Fallout 76. And I'm not sure if we're getting that here. So until next time, Wastelanders, this has been Lone. Please take care of yourselves. And would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.